Hello humans, it's just Martine, and today I have an absolutely ridiculous Dollar Tree book haul for you. I was seriously done with Dollar Tree hauls for a while. I was like, alright, I have plenty of books, and then I went to the Dollar Tree today to run some other errands with people, and I didn't expect there to be a good selection, and then there was, so I got 12 books. I'm here to share them with you. So let's jump into this. The interesting thing about this specific book haul is that it's entirely paperback books today. I literally can't lift them all at once, so that's great. But make sure you stay tuned until the end to see just how much I saved by buying these books at the Dollar Tree. Okay, let's get into it. The first book I have here, I don't even know how to pronounce. It's like Starship Avalon by Christopher Hines. I don't know. It's got this brain that's a huge ship. I saw it and I was like, ooh, sci-fi. It's about 9 explorers who board this artificially intelligent vessel, and they're sent to investigate an anomalous biosignature on some planet far away, and then their mission goes terribly wrong and they have a bunch of freak accidents, and it asks questions like, are these events caused by the tormented psychic mysteriously put aboard at the last minute? Has the crew been targeted by a vengeful corporate psychopath? Are they part of some cruel experiment by the ship's ruthless owners? This seems to be a lot of things, and I'm here for all of it. So it's basically like a survival story set in deep space. I'm ready. The copyright for this book was 2019 and it originally sold for $14.99. The next book I picked up is Not Bad People by Brandy Scott, and I accidentally ruined it a little bit when I was trying to get the sticker off the back, but that's okay because I got it for $1.25. It is a bit chunky for a thriller or suspense novel, which it is. Well over 500 pages, which is a little bit crazy, but at least it's a paperback instead of some honkin' hardback. It starts on New Year's Eve. There are 3 women who release these sky lanterns full of their resolutions, but then as they do, there's a flare, and then newspapers later report a small plane crash, and they're like, oh no, were we responsible for that? It all goes crazy. The author of this is a radio presenter, which is super cool, and this is her first novel. The copyright for this is 2019 and it originally sold for $16.99. Next up, we have Little Wonders by Kate Rorick, which is like a modern story about motherhood. Lots of crazy stuff happens. It says, a novel about modern day morals, motherhood, and getting your worst moment plastered across the internet. What can I say? It sounded interesting. It also looked cute as heck. The copyright for this is 2020, so it's a pretty new book for the Dollar Tree, and it originally sold for $15.99. Next up, we have In a Cottage in a Wood by Cass Green, which is about this woman who meets this other woman who then jumps into the Thames, which, believe it or not, this is not the last we'll hear of jumping off a bridge in this book haul. And then anyway, 2 weeks later, she gets this cottage left to her by the woman who jumped off that bridge. And so she goes to the cottage in the woods, and something bad happens, because obviously. The copyright for this is 2017 and it originally sold for $12.99. Next up, we have The Mandela Plot by Kenneth Bonart, which, it should be noted, is a National Jewish Book Awards finalist. And this takes place in the 1980s in South Africa, where there's a lot of political violence because of the apartheid. There's this boy, Martin Helger, who's a misfit at his private school, and then this American activist shows up, and Martin gets thrust into some kind of struggle, and then secrets from the past emerge. It's also, it should be noted, about a second-generation Jewish family, which I believe is why I was up for this award. It's both a thriller and a coming-of-age tale, so like a combo between that, and I really have no idea what's going to happen in this book, but it seemed interesting to me. It really doesn't take much for me to pick up a book from the Dollar Tree, I won't lie to you. The copyright for this is 2018 and it originally sold for $14.99. Next up, we have the oldest book in this stack, and also my least favorite feel-wise because it's got a glossy cover. It's called Are You Experienced by Jordan Sonnenblick, and it's about this 15-year-old guitar player who's playing at this protest rally, and then the police and his father show up, and so bad things happen, right? And so the main character gets mad and he breaks into this locked cabinet to touch this guitar signed by Jimi Hendrix, and then he's transported to 1969. What more could you want? I also love the art on the inside of this. Isn't that cool? So yeah, a time travel guitar? I said yes, please. The copyright for this is 2013 and it originally sold for $9.99. Next, I have Me, Myself, and Them by Dan Mooney. And this is about a guy who something happened in his life and so he's like withdrawn almost completely. It seems like he sticks to a very strict routine in his daily life. He avoids social situations. And then his ex-girlfriend comes back into his life, and when they were together, he was extremely charismatic, like a joyful person. And so she's trying to figure out what happened to him and try to bring him back out of his shell to be the person that he was before. It seems like it has a lot to discuss about mental health, so I'm here for that. The copyright for this is 2018, and it was originally sold for $15.99. Next up, another thriller, The Last Thing She Remembers by J.S. Monroe. Yes, this has an amnesia trope in it, but as a memory researcher, can I get enough of the amnesia trope? That depends how it's done, honestly. I don't just love it because it's an amnesia trope. So it's about this girl. She arrives at a train station and her bag was stolen, so like her passport, her credit cards, her laptop, all that stuff, it's gone. And then she goes to report the incident and she cannot remember her own name, so she just has a train ticket home. So she takes the train home and things go from there. It says it will leave us breathlessly analyzing the role memory plays in defining who we are and who others think we might be, which sounds exactly like something I would want to read. So I will absolutely devour this book, I think. Copyright 2019, and this was originally sold for $15.99. Moving right along, I usually don't pick up fantasy books even from the Dollar Tree, but I made an exception for Blood of the Four by Christopher Golden and Tim Levin because although this is a high fantasy, it is a standalone. One of the things that I don't like about fantasies is how extensive they are typically as a series. So this is an entirely standalone book with a really interesting fantasy premise. So I was like, I will be giving this a shot because if I don't like it, it's not like I have to feel obligated to pick up any more of the series or anything. And it definitely won't end on a cliffhanger. So I felt comfortable giving this a try. I might have even picked it up even if it wasn't a standalone, but that was a huge selling point for me. The basic premise is that there's this kingdom and everyone in the kingdom is a slave, and some of them are slaves to gods, but most of them are just slaves to regular people. So the royal elite perform their duties, but they're still slaves to the gods. Then there's this young woman who's a princess who wants to claim ultimate power and glory for herself. And then below the royals are this other group of people who are poor and oppressed, and they only have two paths out of this poor life. They could either join the priesthood or they could die. But then the princess is going to ruin this like very, it seems, fragile peace between the elite and the poor people in trying to get her power. So I probably explained that terribly, but you know what? That's fantasy for you. It's also not too intimidating. It's under 500 pages. So I have a thriller in this stack that's longer than this fantasy book is. The copyright for this is 2018 and it was originally sold for $16.99. I can't believe I found a standalone fantasy book. That's such a win. Next up, what is not a standalone and might end on a cliffhanger, which would suck, is Strange Truth by Maggie Thrash. Another mystery thriller vibe. And the moment when the bridge comment comes back into play. So basically, this football game is going on, and then this cheerleader, who's currently dressed as the mascot, hurls herself off a bridge into the Chattahoochee River, as you do. 8 days later, some people know why and some people don't, but they go searching for the truth, and it has satire and heart, apparently. Fast-paced, sassy, and sultry whodunit. Also, I don't know, is the neon sign thing, was that a phase for a while in YA publishing? This was also previously titled We Know It Was You. So, this is apparently the new version of it. But the copyright for this was 2016 and it originally sold for $10.99. Two more. One is When the Men Were Gone by Marjorie Herrera Lewis, and this is a shorter book that takes place in 1944. The war happens and all the men go to war, and so it's about this woman who becomes the coach of the local football team. And that was enough for me. I snatched it right up. The copyright for this is 2018 and it was originally $15.99. And then last but certainly not least, we have We Inherit What the Fires Left by William Evans. If this title is any indication of what the writing is like, I'm super excited. It is one of those weird paperbacks that has like the flaps and it's also got deckled edges, but this is a poetry collection, the second poetry collection I've ever seen at the Dollar Tree. Of course, I had to pick it up. It's largely about what it's like to be a Black man raising a daughter in white spaces, and it's about prejudice and resilience. So I love that. Own Voices, BIPOC author poetry collection at the Dollar Tree. Sign me up. The copyright for this is 2020, so it's pretty new, and it was originally $16, and I think it's beautiful. So in total on these 12 books, I spent $15, but if you add all of their original prices together, they're worth $177.89, which means that today at the Dollar Tree, I saved $162.89 on these books, which is super good. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up and comment down below which of these books seems most interesting to you, or have you read any of these books? If so, what did you think of them? And subscribe for more reading, writing, and college lifestyle content. And until next time, bye humans, bye!